Just take a look around you for a second. Chances are you're looking through glass, maybe drinking from it, or you're staring at a screen made of it, right? Glass is so fundamental to our world, we barely even notice it anymore. But here's the thing. This material wasn't always so ordinary. Its story is about a technological leap so huge, so profound, it completely remade our world from the ground up.
Yeah, for literally thousands of years, glass was this incredibly rare luxury, as prized as any gemstone. So how on earth did it become one of the most common, most versatile materials we have? How did we crack the code to making it fast, cheap, and crystal clear?
You know, the answer is almost hilariously simple. But this one idea, that a simple puff of air could shape molten sand, was a total game changer. And to really get just how revolutionary this was, we've got to take a look at the world before anyone had this incredible flash of genius.
Okay, so before the 1st century BCE, making glass was an art of extreme patience, incredible precision, and, you guessed it, immense cost. It was really an art form that was reserved for the absolute tippy-top of ancient societies, in places like Egypt and Mesopotamia.
So the main technique they used back then was called core forming. What artisans would do is create a core out of clay and sand, kind of in the shape of whatever bottle or jar they wanted. Then they would painstakingly, and I mean painstakingly, wrap or drizzle molten glass over it, slowly building the object up, layer by layer. It was an additive process, and man, was it slow and laborious.
And you can see this older technology just had huge challenges. I mean, core forming did solve the basic problem of, hey, how do we make a glass container? But it was basically a dead end when it came to scale. We're talking hours to make just one tiny object, and you'd end up with these thick, clunky, uneven walls. This right here is exactly why glass was a luxury good, not something you'd find in an ordinary home.
But then, everything changed. In one specific corner of the world, a group of artisans stumbled upon a discovery that would absolutely shatter the limitations of the past 2,000 years.
So this breakthrough happens right around 50 BCE in what we now call the Syro-Palestine region. And this was no accident. Think about it. It was this unique moment in history, a real crossroads of Greek, Persian, and the newly emerging Roman cultures, and it just happened to have access to really high-quality sand. It was the perfect incubator for innovation.
For the very first time, these artisans realized that glass had this incredible hidden property, expansibility. They figured out that instead of adding glass to a core, you could take a glob of it, stick a pipe in, introduce air, and inflate it from the inside out. This was free-blowing, and it was a fundamentally new way of even thinking about the material.
The whole process was just so fluid, so fast, and unbelievably versatile. An artisan could gather the molten glass, inflate a bubble, and then use gravity and a few simple tools to shape it into almost any form you can imagine, and do it all in a matter of minutes. This solved the problems of speed and creative freedom in one single elegant step.
But the innovation didn't stop with free blowing. Nope. The next evolutionary step is what really turned this clever new craft into the world's first true mass production industry for a synthetic material.
So just a few decades later, around 10 to 30 CE, artisans refined the process even further. They started blowing that initial glass bubble directly into a pre-carved mold, maybe made of clay or wood. This was mold blowing, and it was the absolute key to unlocking standardization and doing things at a massive scale.
The commercial genius here was that mold blowing solved a whole new set of problems. Like, how do you make thousands of identical cups? How do you add cool, complex decorations without spending hours on every single piece? Well, molds allowed for instant shaping and decoration. It also meant that even less skilled workers could produce high-quality, uniform products. It was basically the ancient world's version of an assembly line.
And this led to the rise of master glassmakers, guys like Enion of Sidon. He was so confident in his stuff that he actually signed his molded glass vessels with phrases like this one. I mean, come on, that's one of the earliest examples of product branding in history. It's such a clear sign that a competitive, commercial industry had truly been born.
So we have this amazing new technology. The next big question is, how did it spread so far, so fast? Well, the answer lies with the rising superpower of the era, Rome.
Just look at the timing here. It's perfect. Rome conquers Syria just before glassblowing was invented. The Roman Empire, with its huge trade networks, its roads, and the constant movement of soldiers and merchants, basically acted as a massive distribution engine for this idea.
The technology just exploded out of its Syrian birthplace, spreading across the entire empire within a century, and eventually it made its way all the way to Asia via the Silk Road.
And of course, this rapid spread had a massive societal impact. A material that was once only for kings suddenly became accessible to almost everybody, and it started solving everyday problems in ways that no other material possibly could.
I mean, this leap in efficiency really puts everything into perspective, doesn't it? When you can make a cup in 10 minutes instead of 3 hours, the cost just plummets. This is the economic engine that drove the entire revolution. All of a sudden, glass wasn't just possible, it was practical. And the impact on daily life was just total. For the very first time, you could actually see the color of the wine you were drinking. You could store food and medicine in these chemically stable, transparent containers, which was a huge leap for hygiene. The Romans even started making the first crude window panes, which let light into buildings without also letting in the wind and the rain. Glass changed, well, everything.
So, at its core, glassblowing was a democratizing force. It took a material of the absolute elite and put it right into the hands of ordinary people. This was a technological revolution that reshaped society from the bottom up. And the story doesn't end with the fall of Rome. Not even close. The skills and the knowledge of those Roman glassmakers echoed down through the centuries, and they laid the foundation for some of humanity's most important scientific discoveries. You can draw a direct line. The Roman obsession with making clear, workable glass was the direct ancestor of the lab glassware, the beakers and test tubes that we use today. And even more importantly, their early experiments with lenses, as basic as they were the very first step on a long road that led directly to the invention of the telescope and the microscope, the very tools that let us see both the vastness of the universe and the tiny building blocks of life itself.
So the next time you look through a window, just remember that little puff of air that made it all possible. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What technologies that we take for granted today, the silicon chip, maybe the genetic code, the data network, what will form the invisible but absolutely essential foundation of the world 2,000 years from now?